Hey everybody, Dustin DePierre here at Memorial Stadium. Ryan Carchi, Andy Graham, and you just witnessed another rough one, another heartbreaking, devastating moment in the history of Indiana football.
Seems to be a pattern.
It is. They've had a few of these. Andy and I were just talking, or a few people were talking earlier, and we did say that the DeMarlo Belcher drop against Iowa last year is still worse than this in terms of just devastation, heartbreak, and whatnot. But this was still pretty rough. Indiana came back from down 23-3, 28 unanswered points to go up 31-23. Game gets tied, and they got the ball with 1:36 left. Ed Wright Baker gets sacked. Cam Johnson rips the ball straight from him, and then they kick a field goal.
And Virginia stole the game, literally.
Yeah,
Literally.
literally pretty much ripped their hearts out, more or less, in a literal sense.
Yeah,
So,
and as devastating as it was also inspirational in a way. I mean, it was totally unlike the opening game against Ball State. You know, we saw a real fiery emotion that we just didn't see at all last week.
Ginger says hi.
Yeah,
Anyway.
we were already well stocked in the ginger department. So.
No, we're like the leading, exporter, more or less. Anyway. But yeah, no, there was a lot of positive to take from this one if you're Indiana. It's just, can you get over the way it ended? I mean, they obviously were down 23-3, and in many other years, that's the end of it, pretty much. You're looking at 30-3, 40, whatever. It's going to be just a huge score and a blowout. But a lot of things changed at that point. Obviously played much better defensively. They were better defensively really all night, I think. I mean, they weren't horrendous in the first half. They even, it could have gotten real ugly toward the end. I think they fumbled a kickoff with at the 6. That only turns into 3 points Virginia instead of which looked like it was going to be an easy 7. So they hung in there through all that. They gave a big drive in the first half, but after that they had I think 2 or 3 consecutive 3-and-outs, and then got a couple turnovers. A lot more pressure, a lot more penetration on the defensive line. In so many ways they look better. They caused some turnovers.
And Ed Wright Baker, who didn't appear to have any confidence when the game started.
Or really through about halftime.
Yeah, overthrowing pretty much all of his wide receivers at
And
least
lots of open passes.
There were
passes.
guys open all over the place in the first half, and he either couldn't see him, or if he did find him, he couldn't connect with him.
But he regained that
But
confidence.
He did. I mean, he was a lot better with his feet than with his arm early. But then he actually started really throwing some nice touch balls toward the end of the game. Yeah, but you guys were talking about the defense, Dustin, and I really agree. It was more aggressive. Greg Heeman has 2 interceptions.
Yeah.
But the big momentum play of the game came from the defense when Jarrell Drain strips a running back, and Lawrence Barnett swoops in to go 54 yards with a fumble.
And kept his footing that whole time.
That was IU's first lead, and that was really the catalyst to that 28-0 run by IU. And that's the kind of stuff that defenses need to do to win games. But what they really need to do at the end of a game
is stiffen up.
Step up and make a stop. You got to blow up a play. You got to send somebody. That's when you need to get a strip. Right. And they just can't seem that. That's once again the history of this program is such that there are a lot of Indiana fans sitting in the stands who thought, well, by the time Virginia's down to the 30, well, they're going to go ahead and score.
It was a question of where they're going to get the 2-point conversion.
Then they're going to make the 2-point conversion, and that's the mentality that they have to fight. That's the mentality that has to change within the culture of the program. That no, in fact, they have the faith and they have the belief that now we're going to stop them, we're going to win the game. That's what I think Kevin Wilson is working on, and we're seeing incremental progress on. But tonight, once again, the final result shows they're not where they need to be yet.
And I don't mean to bring this up again, but just like last week, we see a situation where if Kevin Wilson would have kicked a field goal on 4th down, it's a different ballgame.
And he questioned himself again.
Yeah.
He brought it up in the press conference and said, that's the second straight week we've done that. The second straight week we gambled, and the second straight week it
didn't work.
Bit us.
It did. He did twice take pretty much blame for 2 separate things. He took blame for that because they took a delay. He said the point of taking delay was to deke them again, was to make them just absolutely certain they were kicking.
Because they were going to get better.
And they made it like a 4th and 8 as opposed to a 4th and 3, which didn't matter. Just Teddy Shell rolled out.
And he had no. It wasn't Teddy's fault. There wasn't anybody open.
He kind of decided to throw behind the guy, and it was a tough situation.
I don't think that delay. You don't take that delay if you're. I mean,
well, I get his point. There's an argument to be made. It didn't work. So
the idea, in fact, I thought it was a good play. I thought, oh, good, they're gonna improve the angle for the kick.
Well, yeah, we all thought that, but
sure.
I mean, of course, hindsight's 20/20. So if you look at it and this would have worked out, then Kevin Wilson's a genius.
Exactly. I mean, his point was, I'm going to make them so sure that I'm kicking it. I'm going to take this delay of game penalty. There's no chance that they'll think that I'm going to fake it here. They will not believe it for a second. It didn't matter, but they at least figured it out well enough to get somebody out there.
Well, and credit Virginia because that play had no chance.
No.
I mean, so they obviously kept
not the slightest chance.
Right, not the slightest chance.
They were very sound defensively and did what they should do.
Right. But I want to take this back to the defense. I thought you said the momentum change was the fumble that Drain caused, and it was a big one, but I thought actually the biggest thing I saw today was the Fred Jones sack. I thought that was the first time we've seen anybody get hit. I think that's the first sack. That's the first sack of the season for Indiana. And immediately after that, Darius Johnson had pressure on him, made him throw the ball away. They probably should have had a safety on the Fred Jones sack.
Yeah, there was something that was never explained.
No, I mean, Kevin Wilson, we'll put some audio up later. Kevin Wilson said that, he was told that it's not reviewable, but it is reviewable. Like, Wilson was extremely confused by the officiating by,
They said forward progress.
They said forward progress
is not reviewable.
Yeah, but then they had reviewed it, and then it was on the one. At one way or another, it was on the one. It didn't end up really hurting them. It's it's 2 points. It depends how that thing goes. But one way or another, they ended up punting it away anyway in a couple of plays. But still.
What Kevin said too is that he said that I called timeout so they could review it. Then they said it's not reviewable, and then I said, well, can I get my timeout back? They said no.
No. Yeah. So, yeah. They pretty much shafted him on that one. More
Kevin Wilson's had some hard luck in his first 2 games. I'll give him that. I don't agree with all of his calls so far.
He doesn't even agree with all of them.
Yeah, no. So the other one that he disagreed with himself, he shifted on the play that turned into the sack for Wright Baker. He said he shifted the blocking, the 5-man protection to the right to the field, I guess, more to the inside, and they had 2 coming from the boundary. And one of those guys was Cam Johnson, and nobody touched him. And I don't think there was anybody in the backfield either. They didn't have
Cam Johnson said that was the first time he remembers all night that he had only one guy on him.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
Right. So, no, they knew coming in. I mean, Indiana talked about him coming in. They talked about Cam Johnson. The 2 guys they talked about were Cam Johnson and Chase Minifield.
Demetrius Nicholson.
Yeah, a little bit, but more was Minifield, the quarterback, who's the first team All ACC guy. And they knew he was good, and they pretty much blocked him pretty well all night, but he was just free.
All it takes is one play.
Yeah, and the thing is, I mean, that was also kind of a sign of Wright Baker still being young. I mean, like he was obviously looking out there, he was trying to make a play. He wasn't looking at what was coming around at him. I think he was trying to feel more comfortable. No, well, I think he held the ball pretty well. He just got killed. I mean, he just got absolutely pummeled.
He did get killed.
It wasn't like it was loose. It was like he got hit, and then, I mean, I imagine this is one of the things where you just kind of go black. You're just like, wait a minute, whoa.
He took some tries tonight, but if Indiana wants to get to where they want to get to, he needs to keep coming on. I mean, he finished 16-31. That's not good enough, really, to play winning football.
Right.
It's just not quite there yet. And obviously, you have to give the kid some time. It's his first shot.
He looks like a first-year starter. He looks like a first-year starter. He's panicking.
Mm-hmm.
He's making a lot of panic calls. He's not getting, he gets to maybe second read. He said he felt a little bit better about that tonight about being able to go to his second progression, his third progression. He says he feels like he's making progress. He said he feels like the game's slowing down. You could see that at points, but there's sometimes it's still too fast.
Yeah, there's still a lot of open receivers out there. And Indiana has a lot of really good receivers. And you need somebody, you need a good technician back there who can get them the ball on a consistent basis. And as I said, he made strides tonight. I mean, obviously, he got better as he went along tonight through the air. But that still needs to really, take further.
Ben Chappell is not walking through that door, ladies and gentlemen.
And a lot of the strides we saw Wright Baker take was after he established himself as a threat on the ground. So Virginia was playing up closer. They're watching for him to run. Then he has a little bit of easier reads. So he's not going to get those easy reads in Big Ten season. I mean, it's just not going to happen.
He upped Indiana's ground attack tonight too. I mean, he stretched there. What the defense had to defend. And then I really liked what I saw from D'Angelo Roberts and then guys like Matt Perez was just. Matt Perez ran with low pads.
Yeah.
He's
tough. He's really tough.
A couple of touchdown runs, he literally would run over a guy, or he'd be stumbling and still get through a tackler. He really was impressive.
He's a poor man's Toby Gerhart. That's what I'm saying. He's maybe a homeless man's Toby Gerhart, but he's got some Toby Gerhart in him.
Definitely.
And that's impressive. It's reminiscent of Mike Hargraver a little bit too. So.
He's a tough kid. Well, who knows where they go from this one? But some things they could take away from it, but it's brutal.
Possibly to 2 wins, and that's what I'm guessing now. I mean, they really can and should possibly win 2 games in a row.
Yeah, they have to win this.
Maybe
what happens after that? So, thanks as always, guys.